Welcome to my Big Brother 3 simulation. So yesterday I did the Big Brother 2 simulation and Autumn won Big Brother 2. And Monica was runner-up and Nicole was third place. So today I am going to do the Big Brother 3 simulation. So I have everyone who played in Big Brother 3 the first time. So that includes Amy, Kiara, Danielle, Eric, Jerry, Jason, Josh, Lisa, Lori, Marcellus, Roddy, and Tanya. So we will move on to the HOH competition. And Kiara is the winner of the HOH. So we'll proceed to see who she decides to nominate. I think she has a relationship with Josh in the house. So Josh is safe, Marcellus is safe, Danielle is safe, Roddy is safe, Lisa is safe, Jerry is safe, Tanya is safe, Eric is safe, Lori is safe. So Kiara nominates Amy and Jason. And I think this makes sense because Danielle has a relationship with, I think, Amy, Jason, and Lisa. I think those four are in a relationship, in an alliance per se. And this time we have a POV competition that was introduced in Big Brother 2, which means the person who is nominated can take off someone else. They can't take off themselves from the block. That comes in the next season. They can take off any of the nominees or they can leave it the same. So Lisa wins the silver power veto. So I think Lisa's probably going to she may take Jason off the block. She'll take Jason off the block for sure. So I was correct. And Lisa does use the power veto on Jason. Kiara names Eric as the replacement. So our final nominees are Amy and Eric. So our final vote, Roddy votes to evict Amy. Tanya votes to evict Amy. Danielle votes to evict Eric. Jerry votes to evict Eric. Lori votes to evict Amy. Josh votes to evict Eric. Jason votes to evict Amy. Lisa votes to evict Amy. And Marcellus votes to evict Amy. So by a vote of 6-3, Amy is evicted. Now I think there's a battle back or a returnee that returns this season. So Amy could return to Big Brother 3 like she did the first time she played. So week 2, we'll see if Kiara can survive this week after nominating 3 people due to the veto. And the HOH is Danielle. I think Danielle may nominate Kiara. So we're just going to skip the people who are safe. As you can see, the Kiara is the last one safe, so I think that was a warning message. And she decides to nominate Marcellus and Eric. So I think her target will probably be Eric, and she's going to use Marcellus as the pawn. So the POV competition, Lisa proves to be a strong competitor as she wins for her second time the silver power of veto. And the veto ceremony, Lisa saves Eric this time. Last week she saved, who did she save? Jason. This time she uses the power veto on the person who has replaced Jason. So Danielle names Tanya as a replacement. So Marcellus and Tanya are the nominations. Now I think that Marcellus may be the target this week But I don't know if Tanya has any relationships, so we'll have to see where this goes. So Jerry votes to evict Tanya. Kiara votes to evict Tanya. Jason votes to evict Marcellus. Lisa votes to evict Tanya. Roddy votes to evict Tanya. Josh votes to evict Tanya. And we see a pattern here that it's going to be Tanya, because Eric votes to evict Tanya, and Lori provides the only vote for Marcellus. So we have our second person evicted, who actually was evicted second the first time they played, and that is Tanya, by a vote of 6-2. So we have our first two, and they are both women. Amy and Tanya represent the first two evicted, but Tanya will have a chance to return, try to get back in and take out Danielle, as well as Amy will be able to get back in and take out Amy. I'm not take back Amy. Get back at Amy. Kiara. Get back at Kiara. So Jason wins head of household. This will be interesting because Kiara did nominate him. Let's see if he repays the favor. So, as you can see, everything looks pretty normal. And he does exactly what I thought. He's going to nominate Kiara because she nominated him. And she's going to nominate Marcellus as the pond. But let's see if Lisa decides to change that, because I think Kiara and Lisa are close. But Kiara wins the power of veto. But the one thing about this power of veto, as I explained at the beginning, it does not have the power to remove yourself. So, as we see, Kiara uses it on the pawn, Marcellus, and Jason names Roddy as the replacement nomination. And the final nominations are Kiara and Roddy. And let's see how the vote goes. So Josh votes to evict Roddy. Lisa votes to evict Kiara. Danielle votes to evict Kiara. Jerry votes to evict Roddy. Marcellus votes to evict Roddy. Eric votes to evict Kiara. And Lori votes to evict Roddy. So by a slim margin, Roddy is the one going home. So we have Amy, Tanya, and Roddy all evicted. So Jason wasn't able to get out Marcellus or Kiara after that eviction. So I think Marcellus and Kiara will be going back after Jason if they win. And as expected, Kiara wins head of household. And Lori is safe. And as I expected, Jason and Eric are nominated. So the power of veto is won by Danielle, so we can expect Jason to be safe. And she uses it on Jason. And shockingly, Kiara names Lisa the replacement. So two strong people, Lisa and Eric. Let's see what happens. So Lori votes to evict Lisa. Jerry votes to evict Eric. Marcellus votes to evict Lisa. Josh votes to evict Eric. And Jason votes to evict Lisa. Danielle votes to evict Eric. So we have a tie. And Kiara will settle this by voting to evict Eric after a 3-3 tie. So she replaces with Lisa and still decides Eric is the one she wants out. So we have Amy, Tanya, Roddy, and Eric all evicted. So, proceed to the HOH and we'll see if Lisa can win HOH and take out Kiara for nominating her. So Jason wins HOH. Let's see who he nominates. And he decides to nominate his previous nominations of Kiara and Marcellus. So we'll proceed to the POV, and Lisa wins the power of veto again. And she will likely probably take Marcellus off the block, I'm thinking. Oh, she does not use the power of veto. She keeps the nominations the same. So Kiara and Marcellus both have a likelihood of going home. And we see 3 of the votes for Marcellus, and only 2 of the votes from Jerry and Lisa to Kiara. So Marcellus is evicted by a vote of 3-2. So we've gotten to the first 5 people evicted. So Amy, Eric, Marcellus, Roddy, and Tanya all have a chance to return to the game. So let's go to the returning player twist. So they all could return. Roddy and Eric are willing to sacrifice the most to return. So both Amy and Tanya are not going to sacrifice anything to return. So Kiara votes for Roddy to return. Danielle votes for Roddy to return. Jerry votes for Eric. Jason votes for Eric. Josh votes for Roddy. Lisa votes for Eric. And Lori votes for Eric. So Eric returns to the game by a vote of 4-3. And Lisa wins HOH. Let's see who she decides to nominate. So Lisa chooses to nominate Kiara and Lori. I think she really wants Kiara gone because Kiara came after Lisa. So Eric wins the power of veto. Will he use it on Kiara? Or will he keep the nominations the same? So he does not use the power of veto. I think Kiara is going unless they decide to turn on a pawn. After watching Autumn and Monica get to the finale in my Big Brother 2 simulation. So we get Jason, Jerry, and Eric voting out Kiara. Josh votes for Lori. Danielle votes for Kiara. And we see finally the eviction of Kiara by a vote of 4-1. Alright, so I think we have our final 7 right now. And it seems like the people who are floating is Josh, Jerry, and Lori, who haven't won anything. Let's see who wins the HOH this week. Jason wins another HOH. And I think he's probably going to target 2 pawns. And he does not. He does target a pawn. He targets Jerry and he puts up Lisa. So I don't know what his goal with Lisa is because they do have an alliance. Let's see who wins the POV competition. Jason also wins the veto. So he could replace Lisa with another pawn, or he could take Jerry off and put a different pawn up. You never know. He does not use the veto. He keeps the nominations the same. So Eric votes to evict Jerry. Josh votes to evict Jerry. Danielle votes to evict Lisa. And Lori votes to evict Lisa. So we have a tie. So I'm thinking he's going to probably finish Lisa off and send her home. But he does not. He really is going after the pawn, and he votes to evict Jerry. So we got rid of Jerry a pawn. Probably because they have a fear of a pawn winning, because final 2 in my last simulation was all pawns. So we have the final 5. We have Danielle, Jason, Josh, Lisa, and Lori. We have the final 3 in the previous Big Brother 3. in Danielle, Jason, and Lisa, with 2 outsiders and Lori being the first person evicted of Big Brother 3. So let's go to the HOH competition, and Lisa and Jason prove why they are likely going to be the winner after back-to-back head of household wins. So I think Lisa's probably going to nominate Lori and Jason for eviction. But she does not. She nominates the final 2 pawns, Josh and Lori. And we know they can't win veto, so let's see what happens. Lisa also wins veto. So, oh my goodness. But Lisa decides to use the power of veto on Josh, and she probably... Whoa, I'm starstruck. Wow, she actually does a blindside. She names Jason as the replacement, and I think she's trying to backdoor him, as she has Jason and Lori up. But the problem with that is Eric, Danielle, and Josh have other plans, and they want Lori out, and she is gone by a vote of 3-0. So we have our final 4. Now with only 1 pawn, Josh, left. Let's see what happens this HOH. And Eric wins a head of household. He chooses to nominate Josh and Danielle. Now if Jason wins and takes off Danielle, we could see possibly Lisa going home, or we could still see the pawn going home. So Jason wins the power of veto like I thought. And this is the first time the golden power of veto was available, which would have meant if Danielle would have won, she could have taken herself off. So, let's see what happens. And he does decide to use the power of veto on Danielle. Eric names Lisa as the replacement. And our final nominations are Josh and Lisa. So, and we have our 3rd tie of the season, as Jason votes to evict Lisa, but Danielle votes to evict Josh. So let's proceed to our eviction and see what does Eric decide to do. I think he's probably going to stick with Lisa, and he's going to vote to evict our final pawn of the season. And he does. Eric votes to evict Josh. So we have the same final 3 we did in actual Big Brother 3. So, let's move on to the final 3 HOH competition, where I think it's going to be Lisa winning this one. And she does. She wins the HOH that she did. Oh, we're not in the final 3. We're in the final 4, as Eric is still there. And as we thought, Danielle and Jason are the nominations. With no veto, we go to eviction, where Eric votes to evict Danielle. Shocking eviction? Not really. As we head to our final HOH as Danielle is evicted. So, I think Jason and Lisa are pretty evenly matched. So I think Eric is likely going to be taken to the final 2 either way. And the first part of the HOH competition is won by Eric. The second part is won by Jason. I think it's going to be Lisa who gets evicted in that coveted 3rd position where you deserve to win, you just fail at the very end. And Jason wins the final HOH competition. He's been probably the best player other than Lisa this season. And Jason votes to evict Lisa, probably securing his win for the season. Lisa's evicted by a 1-0 vote. Let's head to the finale, where, unlike last season, we have 2 guys, Eric and Jason, fighting for the win. This is not... Eric was evicted, and he returned, and he kind of floated his way to the very end with help of Lisa. And the jurors face both Eric and Jason. I think both are going to have Eric's gonna have Lisa, and Danielle will have Jason. So Marcellus is voting for Jason to win. Excuse me. Lisa votes for Eric to win. Jerry votes for Jason to win. Josh votes for Jason to win. Lori votes for Jason to win. Gerardi votes for Jason to win. Kiara votes for Jason to win. Danielle votes for Jason to win. Amy votes for Jason to win. And Tanya votes for Jason to win. So we have our first almost shutout, except for Lisa, which I thought would happen. And Jason wins by a 9-1 vote. Jason played a phenomenal game, and I think he is our top winner so far. He definitely beats Autumn, who floated her way to the end. And Josh is voted the favorite juror, probably because he just was funny to watch on the feeds, if there were feeds for this simulation. The statistics and placements, and we'll head over to what our other stats are. So our total wins is Lisa with 7, then Jason with 6, then Kiara with 3, then tied with 2, Eric and Danielle. Jason had the most HOH wins with 4, Lisa with 3, Kiara with 2, Eric and Danielle had 1. And Lisa had 4 POV wins, Jason had 2, Eric, Danielle, and Kiara had 1. Jason had the most nominations, with 4 times being nominated, as well as there's a couple people, Marcellus, Lisa, and Eric with 3, and we won't go into 2 and 1. And Jason was saved with the veto twice. Kiara had the record number of votes cast, which is 9. Lisa and Tanya followed that with 7 and 6. And for the second time in a row, just like Autumn, Jason had 0 votes against him, which is actually a lot more better than Autumn because he was in target a lot. He was on the block the most. So thank you for listening to Big Brother 3. Subscribe and comment what you liked, what you didn't like, and I'll see you next time for Big Brother 4. Thank you, and have a great day.